I'd like to call the September 19th, 2024 consent calendar to order. Rob, have you had a chance to review these drawings, please? And do you have comments?
We did. Can we go to, I think it's your landscape plan. I wanted to say, I wrote some notes. Maybe it was, page 7.2.
Probably at the end.
It was 96 pages or something. Yeah, it's everything.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, you had it actually. You could go back a page. That works right there on there. So, I mean, first of all, I mean, your plans are exceptional in terms of the detail, and you kind of keep the bar at another level for other landscape architects. So
Thank you.
for that.
Appreciate that.
My only design comment on it was, and again, I just like look at this for a moment and try to size it up, but the lawn seems like an opportunity to kind of unify. There's like the existing guest house, the deck, and the vegetable beds, and it's kind of floating out there as a fourth element. I guess my design instincts would be that lawn should engage those other pieces. Now, it's only a suggestion, and I would certainly not, something that could be done in the field, but certainly don't want you to have to come back. So that was my only comment.
Can you clarify? Do you mean like go closer to them or?
Yeah, like touch, engage, kind of
Size.
Got
wrap,
it. Okay.
kind of have the lawn and, touch those elements so it kind of ties them all together.
Yeah,
And,
make it larger. Okay.
so right now it seems like it's floating as a fourth element, and
Mhm.
as opposed to it has the ability to tie them all together. And so that's all.
Okay, so thank you for the quick revisions earlier this week. I'm still not completely satisfied. So, and let me tell you why. The material legend says wall color, particularly the wall facing the east, Benjamin Moore, but it does not have a color name or a call out of any kind. It's a light brown, or at least that's what I think it is. Yeah, exactly. But that's not the only one. The roof itself says metal roof, but we require matte finish. It would be nice to have a specific brand name and product. Now, you did do that with the siding, some of the wood siding, and you circled the big, it's this one here. It'd be nice to have that for the roof. And we have had one passionate complaint of a neighbor a year ago that said, without the matte finish, you guys are blinding me. Okay, and it's too late for him, but we've been asking everybody. There are a number of companies out there that have matte finish, but please do that. And I want you to do that for all of it. Now, the inside of the building is not we have nothing to say about that, okay? But all of the materials on the outside, then the details themselves, sort of, but not really. So do you have a contractor picked? Okay, so for instance, at the front door, there's a big glass wall.
Mhm.
Head jam of that all the
Mhm.
way up to the roof.
Mhm.
How's that work with the rake?
Mhm.
Detail that's there. All of that is missing. Window and door details
Mhm.
in the siding is missing.
Mhm.
If you were to receive, I was going to say good news, but who knows, $1 billion lottery,
Mhm.
and you said, you know what, I really want to kind of walk away from architecture.
Mhm.
Could the contractor build the exterior of the building without any further input from you?
Sure, no. And I think, first time through this process, we didn't know you guys needed that level of detail,
Yeah.
so we're happy to add it.
Okay, because what happens is we approve it,
Yeah.
and Kylie puts her stamp on it.
Uh-huh.
Then it goes to the building department, they review it, but we know what the project is, and ultimately the bids are better,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
the inspector knows what to review and not. So I can't recommend approval. I guess Rob can, so that's fine.
Yeah.
And what do you think about putting all that stuff on? I mean, detail out the exterior of the building, please.
Sure.
So how long do you think that's gonna take?
I think we could probably get those details added in 2 weeks. I mean, we have them
Okay,
from other.
in that
projects.
case, why don't you come back
Okay.
and we'll do that? You are permitted to go into the building department. If you did,
Yeah,
You're
we
already
will.
in?
I think we might have already sent it in, but I'm sure they'll have similar.
I'm sure they're gonna have comments too,
Yeah.
but I don't want to hold you up
Sure.
if you hadn't. done
Yeah.
that. But we do want a complete set of plans.
Okay.
So, and since you're coming back, if we're to be specific on that, where you have stepping stones, like you come down, then you've got those long horizontal, stone steps. Maybe just have kind of the lawn, kind of get rid of the stepping stones and have the lawn weave in there, have the lawn weave in where all the stepping stones are and connect all those pieces.
How are you doing with
So-
Wheelo?
We're okay.
So
Everything
you
else
can
is low.
expand it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, no, it's a real nice set of plans, so just.
Yeah, no, and this is going to be a very pretty project. It's just, if you could please be complete. I
Sure,
mean,
we're happy to.
96 pages but, okay?
How many
No
are
problem.
landscape?
When is the next
2.
meeting?
Oh, she's got more sheets than that, right?
No.
No.
October
Her
3rd.
This
her
one's
stuff is very
easy.
complete too, so it's.
October
great.
3rd.
October 3rd. Okay, sure.
But make sure with Kylie, you know when you have to submit it
Okay.
to her so that it gets on the agenda.
Okay, and like you said, now that the building permit's going to take a while, so we
Yes,
have
it
time,
is.
but we'll make sure we get those details.
Yeah.
And then we have the samples associated, but we'll bring them back.
I don't think you need to do that.
Oh, we don't? Okay, as
No,
long as the,
no.
okay,
That's why they're on the drawing,
Sure.
okay? So go through, okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And does Priya need to come?
Katie?
Do you need to come back?
No, I mean, if.
I don't know that either one of you needs to
No.
come back. You can do it by Zoom if you want. Yeah,
Yeah, just draw, I mean, if you don't mind drawing that stuff on, just so it's on the plan.
you're in the LA area, right? Okay. Okay, no problem. If you want to come in, we'd love to see you, but if you don't want to come in, join us by Zoom, please. Thank you now. Okay, so we're on, guys. I'd like to call the September 19th, 2024 Montecito Board of Architectural Review to order. So public comment, I know we have one on a letter. Is there anybody else that would like to address the board that's here? Anybody? Okay, is there more than just this one letter?
Just one letter, and I'm not currently seeing any hands raised.
Okay, excellent. So this was from a woman, Dara Barker. I think she's done 2 or 3 projects with us, and she is wanted to express her feelings. So let me read it. I am writing to express my deep concern regarding the sudden and dramatic change in the appearance of our neighborhood, which seems to have unfolded in the last few weeks on your watch, the MBAR's watch. As I am sure you have noticed, there are now copious amounts of enormous fiber optic wires apparently installed by someone with an enthusiasm for large overhead tangled webs. These new wires are not just mingling with the usual utility lines hidden in the trees. These thick wires are performing an aerial ballet of low-hanging chaos and look awful. You can now see them crisscrossing overhead on Hot Springs, Sycamore Canyon, East Mountain, and other streets, all without intervention from your esteemed board. I cannot help point out the irony here. For the last 15 years, your board has busied yourselves micromanaging the minutia of residents' projects, including myself. Yet this colossal eyesore was apparently of no concern. To say that these new installations have drastically altered the character of the area would be an understatement. Our once quaint neighborhood now resembles something more akin to the developing nation's urban sprawl. I personally have endured your attentive oversight on a number of insignificant items, such as the time I was forced to pick old-timey path lights from the board preferred rather than simple modern ones I had selected, even though they were not visible to anyone at all, set 12 inches off the ground and were behind a gate. On another project, I had to spend thousands of dollars and months of delay to have my landscape architect draw up plans for a mandated walking path in front of my home on Hot Springs, only for you to realize after I pointed out at the meeting after the money and delay that my house was not on the east side of the street that has the path. How curious that such microscopic scrutiny is routinely applied to inconsequential and unseen details, while miles of thick, obtrusive fiber optic cables are now draped across our streets. How did the board, usually so quick to pounce on every trivial detail, manage to sleep through the installation of these unsightly wires, which now overwhelm our once picturesque streets? In closing, I would like clarity on how this situation was allowed to occur and what steps the board plans to take to address it. Okay, so is there anybody else who would like to address the board, please? Okay. Item number, agenda status report. David?
We do have one change to today's agenda. Post publication of the agenda, the applicant for item number 2, as well as the associated site visit, is requesting a continuance to your October 31st meeting.
Can I have a motion to that effect, please?
Make a motion to move item 2, 1221 East Valley Road to the next available
No, October 31. Is
October 3rd MBAR meeting.
there a second, please? Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed. Minutes. I was not here. Does anybody review the minutes, please?
Yes.
Yes, I was chair of the meeting and any comments? I mean, Dave wasn't here. Robert,
Yes,
Rob,
on item one, the address on that, 227 Hot Springs. My comment, the number 7, provide landscape plan, I believe what what I was suggesting, and this kind of takes care of items 1, 2, 4, 5, and 7, was that this project would be better served to have a landscape architect as part of the team. And I thought that that would then in turn resolve, item 1, item 2.
Did you say that during the
I
meeting?
thought I did, to that effect. It was so I think framing it as providing a landscape plan, I don't think that's exactly what I asked for, as much as I suggested that a landscape architect needs to be part of this team. And then that some of these other things would take care of a lot of these issues.
but I would assume that a landscape plan, provide landscape plan, it's up to the applicant to
Uh,
retain
Kind of a,
can we force someone to retain a landscape architect?
just, I don't know the answer to that one. I kind of needs kind of site design, hardscape design, it was kind of an overall integrated,
Thought if
team,
you
so.
said something like consider.
um, Using, retaining a landscape architect for the project.
Yeah, to help resolve the
Those issues.
issues brought up. Yeah, actually, if you said that, and then to help resolve the issues brought up in items 1, 2, 4, 5, and 7.
Okay. Uh, Anyone else? You? Robert, you wouldn't hear, right? Oh, you wouldn't. Yeah, and I have no further comment, so I'd like to have motion for approval of the meeting minutes of September 5th.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Abstain.
I abstain.
Thank you, Chip. Members informational briefing. Anyone go anywhere, do anything?
I will be stepping down on the first item.
Okay, excellent.
I will also be
Okay.
recusing myself.
Staff update, David, Kimberly, please.
Nothing for me, thank you.
So for anyone who is watching the Montecito Planning Commission, I just following up because I made this announcement last time. The Miramar project is no longer scheduled for October 2nd, as the Planning Commission has lost quorum for that date. The rescheduled date is to be announced. It's not determined yet.
Oh, so you don't have a date yet?
No.
Is that for the Miramar?
For the Miramar.
What about the Four Season?
That is at the moment still scheduled for October 16th.
Anything else?
That was it.
Montecito consent agenda. Rob and I reviewed it, and Rob made a suggestion to alter a few things, which sounds like the landscape architect is happy to do. I felt that the plans were incomplete in terms of detailing and material called out, and I discussed that with the architect for a couple of minutes, and she understands what it is that I was suggesting. And so what I'd like to do is to move to continue this item to the next meeting, next consent calendar. There's second?
On October 3rd.
They were
October.
allowed to get into the building department?
They're already in.
Okay, okay.
There's second,
I'll
please.
second that.
Any discussion, please? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? And then we are now up to item number 1. So item number 2, actually, or 3, we moved 3 up to 1 because of quorum issues. So we now have quorum with Robert, Tip, John, and Rob. Okay, and we received a revised site plan, maybe even 2, I understand, maybe. Okay, so I haven't seen those. I've just been busy. We had a site visit today, which Tip and I attended. So let me read the comments before we go on. Site visit and story polls required. Story, which happened today, restudy the entry drive, consider moving garage back to the west, consider flipping the floor plan. Two members expressed concern regarding the steep roof pitch, provide sections, provide landscape plan. One member suggested that the applicant have the project reviewed by the homeowners association, provide HOA comments to the MBAR. Okay, so you're up.
Yes, I am. My name is Joaquin Ornelas. I'm with Pacific Architects, and with me here today, we have the processor Bob Rennick and landscape architect Bill Millett, who got stuck in traffic and wasn't able to make it today. Apparently, there's a lot of traffic coming from down south. Thank you for coming to the site this morning to take a look at the story poles and from the vicinity of the neighbor's property and from our rear deck. What I'd like to do, because we did make some revisions, I'd like to address the comments that were made the last time we met.
Okay.
There was several items we discussed during the site visit, and we continue to work with the homeowners, and we continue to work with the Montecito Homeowners Association. And that won't stop. So we'll continue to do that. We'll start with the recent ones that we provided, which is a sheet A 0.4. Anything pertaining to the landscape, Bill Millett is here and he could address some of the concerns that the neighbors had. And what I wanted to address here, and you could step in, Bill, anytime if I'm saying something incorrectly, the canopies that Johnny requested the trees to be shown, the canopies as well as the trunk locations. What we did in addition to on this sheet A 0.4 is the tree that is of most concern. Probably two trees that are of concern and more for us as well, but we seem to be affecting the two trees that we actually provided the X on the plan. And they're the two trees that are closest to the neighbor's property, as you can see there. The tree on the lowest, closest to the property line, that oak tree, that tree, we've added a development area, which is an additional, what was it, 10 feet, but it's 30 feet from the trunk. So it shows the area that this could grow to.
Yes.
And so it's bigger than what it actually is. All the other trees that are shown on this map are the canopies of the trees as they are existing. I just wanted to make sure that that tree is identified, that we have a development boundary on that. Can I go to the next page? We could jump back to any of these pages as we need. Thank you, David. Sorry about that, because I know I submitted two additional. So that is a site plan, well, while I have this, we could stay on that site plan real quick. There has been discussion by all those concerned about our proposed structure, its location and such, to consider this structure being flipped, being pushed into the front yard setback of Glen Oaks. We are on a corner property, so we are limited to two front yard setbacks that provide the constraints, and all the oak grove that's along the property. We also have a floodplain zone that plays into the more restrictions on this development. And again, like I said, the corner lot. It's not that we have not considered flipping, moving. We haven't considered requesting a variance or a modification to encroach into the front yard setback on the north side of the property. And that will be discussed. It was brought up again earlier today at the site visit. That's something that we could consider yet again. But just to note, any other consideration also compromises other oak trees that were shown in the previous slide that we had. So we'll continue to work to try to alleviate as many concerns as a neighbor has. When I let Bill speak, he can discuss everything we're proposing on that south property line to help mitigate the concerns that the neighbors have. Can I go to the next one, Dave? I'm just going to shoot you through, and it will be, let's go to the next one still. And one more. That's the rear. We're not talking about the ADU. This just shows the floodplain zone. You could see the ADU structure is located in there. If we move the structure further south, there are multiple flood maps, and this map identifies the zones by the ADU. There's another one that shows where the swimming pool is. There's also a flood zone area there. So considering putting the structure in that area would compromise that, and again, another challenge. Can I go to the next page? This is just to identify the story polls that were there, that the board members that attended today. We have made a revision in addition to the revisions we submitted that you see here before you. We've continued to work on the massing, the roof lines, and so we've lowered the structure yet again. That's not represented in this particular map or the drawings that you're going to see today. We've lowered it an additional 3 feet. So I just want to identify that we are still working with the homeowners and Montecito board. Next slide, Dave. And Bob, if you see anything that you need to add in there, you could go to the next slide. I'm just going to get to the elevations and then one more. There we go. So what I want to show on this is, see the dash line. Maybe you can't identify it as a dash line, but that lighter line above the new roof line. We have reduced the roof from that original roof line to what you see currently there that shows a standing seam roof. And even the standing seam roof has been modified to be a slate type roof that will be proposed. So there have been some additional changes, but the elevation on the top, the garage is on the left-hand side. There's a little pop-up ridge that's the 3 feet that's being lowered. So there won't be a continuous ridge beyond it. And so we're lowering that. So again, just to reiterate, the massing has been reduced from what you see here. And that roof has been scaled down and the height has also come down too. Next page. And the elevation that is of most concern to the property next to us is the one on the top. The one on the top represents the garage and then the deck on the backside. But if you see the garage, the one that has the 3 windows on there, as that rafter tail goes all the way up and continues past to that ridge, that's the ridge that's being lowered. So that's massing that is facing the neighbor's property that will be further reduced. And it's not represented on these plans because we're continuing to work on it to try to work with the neighbor's concerns. Next slide. We might have to pass, and yeah, we'll go past that one, the CADU. And I think I'm going to hand it off to Bill because the next one is a landscape plan. Bill Millett's here to present.
Thank you. I guess first off, I'll talk about the concerns of the neighbor regarding screening of our client's proposed new construction. We visited the site of the neighbor on the south side and looked across to look at the views. And we're proposing to remove 2 large mature oak trees for the construction of the main house. Those do provide significant screening currently. Let's see. After the removal of them, we're proposing mitigation, obviously, for the removal of those 2 oaks. And you would propose planting along the south side. I think you can see there's 3 trees that kind of have more of a rendered feeling to them. Those are new proposed trees. We're thinking they'd probably be 84-inch box oaks. And I just looked at nursery. They'd be 20 foot tall by 20 foot wide at time of planting. So they provide significant screening. And in fact, there's existing hedge on the neighbor's property, a large Eugenia hedge and ficus hedge there. And we're also proposing on our side of the property to plant hedge, probably from a 24-inch box size tight hedge in there, which would be approximately 12 foot tall at planting. So I feel because of the close proximity of the neighbor's house to the existing hedge and our proposed hedge and the additional trees that we'd be planting, that really there will be very little view of the new proposed structure through those hedges. It'll be a fairly dense planting right from day one. And this house is a few years off from being constructed, most likely, and that perimeter planning could occur at any time in the near future to get it established prior to construction.
Is that your presentation?
I'd just like to add a couple things. I know this morning's concern were the two mature oaks and especially the one that's farther to the south. We went back to the office and tried to see if we could move the property farther north, and we tried all sorts of different ways and to save that tree, and it really was not possible. There was really no way to get around those two trees without mitigating or without ruining several other oaks on the property. So, those two trees, I felt like, with mitigating with other 84-inch box trees, will give substantial screening as well there. And that's all I've got is we really tried, this last, to make that happen, but it just, even if moving it, we'd have to move it 30 feet to clear that tree there.
Joaquin, are you done now?
Yeah, John, we're ready for your comments.
Okay, very good. Questions. Robert, please.
I think it looks good. How did you lower the roof? Did you lower the roof slope?
Yeah, we changed the roof pitch from 10 and 12 to a 7 and 12 pitch roof.
No.
Oh, lowering?
No,
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I misunderstood. But yes, we changed the configuration of, we had 3 gables on the south side. We changed that to 2 gables and provided just a reduced area up on the upper floor to do that.
Is that it, Robert?
Yes.
Tip, questions, please?
Yes, what is the amount of cut and fill?
we're working with the civil right now, so we don't have that number for you yet.
Do you have any rough ideas? Are you moving a lot of soil or?
Yeah, we just hired them, so I could probably have that by the next meeting.
Yeah, all right.
If I can't answer, part of the design that's being proposed here is to minimize as much grading as possible. Where the toe of the slope is, that first and second floor area is being built up against there. The garage is pretty much exactly where it is right now, but the structure that's being proposed is along that area where the bank is to minimize that.
So the new finished floor for the main floor is the same as the current finished floor for the existing house?
I believe it is. I believe it's exactly the same because the garage finished floor is
Garage stays the same.
correct.
But since you push the house toward the west, that give you a more drop to allow for the lower floor.
That's correct.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Rob, please.
Is there some, and I'm sorry I wasn't there this morning, is there some pictures of the site right at that spot? And as you look for that, is there a need on, so the garage side of it, that driveway where you have a gate, is that exit only? Basically, the intent of that? guys?
That's the intention, I think. Mhm.
Or that's, I mean, that's what they would allow, right? They wouldn't allow you to drive in because of the stacking space. So does it need to be that wide? I guess, can you maneuver, if you have that orientation, does that driveway need to be that wide at that point? Or can you thin that throat down coming?
And down, I
Okay.
think there's opportunity there.
And is there any study that exists that you folks did that basically shows if you had flipped it with the garage on the other side and kind of approached it from that side? I've heard that mentioned and just like looking at the, the geometry of how where the garage is and just the way it angles out there. If you flipped it, seems like there's some advantages that are there. So I'm just trying to understand as to why that's kind of being eliminated as a possibility.
There's topography there that the north side is about 3 foot higher
Mm-hmm.
than the south side of the property. So, and there's a significant oak tree there you can see on the corner that would not allow. We did look at that, and it just
And,
didn't work out with the topography and the layout of that.
and Bill, is that with coming, like if you flipped it, was the drive access off of Glen Oaks or was it off of where the same road that where you have it now, kind of, if you,
Off the same.
okay. Okay, all right. Did any pictures,
Photos.
photos? Or did you have a photo page that I just could look at really quickly that?
Did you have a photo page? So did you resubmit it for this time or? So the answer is no then. I can
Okay.
look for it.
No, they said they did not resubmit and they included it last time. So
That's
it should
right.
be there.
There is no photo set in the set for today. I will look though.
Okay,
Okay, all right, thank you.
are you done?
Yeah, I'd like to see the photos if they exist, but yes.
If I were to say that I'm not going to vote for a project that kills the southernmost big tree, is there a solution that you guys can work? The one in the middle of the deck, I mean, I think that's a very nice oak, but I don't think it's the same as the one at the south. And it sounds like you can mitigate with, but what about that south oak? Can that oak be saved some way, please? If that was a bottom line for my vote, can that be saved?
As an arborist also, landscape architect and arborist, speaking to where any new structure outside of the protected zone of that particular tree, which is the drip line plus 6 feet, significantly reduces the area. And I can't speak to their architecture, but the buildable space is significantly less. And one thing that's come up too in the near recently is current fire code. When we used to be able to encroach into the protected zone of a tree with the arborist report, but now fire and the requirements with insurance and the fire department to stay minimum 6 foot clear of a canopy. I don't know. I've run into this a lot recently with reports trying to protect that zone further because of fire. Sure.
Public comment, is there anybody that would like to address the board on what is agendized as item number 3, 1755 Glen Oaks Drive, please?
We do have one hand up and then we did receive a couple of comment letters.
Please.
Speaker first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Our first speaker is Jackson McNeil.
Good evening, board. My name is Jackson McNeil, and I'm a land use attorney from Elkins Cult, representing Julie Hyder and Cameron Gray, the neighbors who own the property directly to the south of the project. At the outset, I just want to say that my clients appreciate some of the changes that have already been made to the project. My clients realize this is going to be their neighbor. They don't want this to be a combative process. That being said, this project affects their home. It's important to them, and there's still changes that need to be made to the project. First and foremost, the project is frankly still too big and too close to my client's property, especially in light of the oak trees that you heard will be removed. There's no reason that the roof can't come down a little bit more. And there's no reason that the project can't be moved farther north or that the second floor massing can't be reduced. Look, we get their flood zones. We get that there are other oak trees on the property. We know that there's a 50-foot setback requirement in the north yard. But let's be honest here. This is a 1.5 acre property. You could easily rearrange the floor area, move the second floor area to the first floor, or just reduce the floor area altogether. You could reduce the size of the pool patio, reduce the size of the pool, or move the house massing around. You could reduce the size of the ADU or the lawn. You could seek a modification to the setback requirement, which I know that the architect briefly discussed. I'm not saying they need to, cut their floor area or patio or pool by 50% or something ridiculous, but respectfully, anyone who says they can't rearrange the massing for a single family home on a 1.5 acre site is just not being creative. More needs to be done here. My clients are especially concerned about the second floor deck, which still wraps around to the south elevation and faces my client's property. This is particularly concerning because, again, we understand that some of the mature oak trees, specifically that one that was just discussed, is going to be removed that would otherwise help screen the project and the deck. We don't see any reason why that portion of the deck can't be eliminated or that oak tree kept. Finally, this project is in flux, right? This is the first time we've seen this landscape plan, or at least that I've seen it. Hedges, respectfully, are not a solution. They can be removed by a future owner. They can be topped. They have to be maintained. They don't capture the character or aesthetic of oaks, which are prevalent in the neighborhood. The HOA has not reviewed or approved the revised project yet. The HOA is likely to require changes. The story poles, I know some of you are on a site visit today, do not adequately mark out the project. So my clients can't fully understand or evaluate the impacts to their property and thus what kind of changes are probably most needed. Long story short, this is a collaborative process. We know this is a conceptual review, but this project really needs to be crystallized before the board, the HOA, or my client can really evaluate this project. And until then, the project's just not ready to move forward. In the meantime, we look forward to working with the board, with the HOA, and especially the applicant. And I welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Our second speaker will be Cameron Gray.
Cameron?
Yeah, can you all hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Great. This is Cameron. My wife and I live at 1757. We're the neighbors in the nomenclature here. So I just wanted to reiterate a couple things that Jackson pointed out. We appreciate some of the flexibility being shown and the accommodations in the plans. The story poles were helpful, but not dispositive for us to really assess what is the impact for unobstructed views of the mountains that we have right now, as well as direct visibility or access or a line of sight into our property from 1755. So it's been difficult to really get a specific idea of what the plan is, so we could figure out, okay, if the oak trees are removed and the landscape plan is whatever the landscape plan is, what does that mean for the impact, and what would we be able to get behind as a resolution? So I think increased specificity would be really helpful on both the landscape as well as any changes that might be proposed in the building itself. So that's my 2 cents. Is we'd love to see this get to a good resolution for everybody. It's taken a lot of time, and increased specificity in the designs be super helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
No additional speakers online.
Okay, we are on for concept today. As Tip said at the project, this is a tricky site. And
Did you want to go over the comment letters?
well, he just spoke, this guy. So, Robert, I started with you. We're on for concept. This is our second meeting. Yeah. Have any comments, please? Mike?
Appreciate the lowered roof. I think that helps a lot. It is jammed pretty close to the property line and it's setback to setback, right? So, you know, it's an aggressive project. This is a question. I assume all of the electrical and fiber is underground?
It isn't now, but it will be proposed. It's right across the street.
No more questions or comments?
Yep.
Yeah, you know, by the way, I really appreciate the site visit this morning because really give me a good perspective about the project and trees and everything. So, you know, I definitely I've been in Montecito for many years and I lost probably a total 8 oak trees on my property for during the last 20 years. And so my perspective about oak trees have changed quite a bit. And I just lost another one last week. And it had to do a lot of rain we have lately. And the interesting thing about oak trees is that you can't tell if they are falling or not because they are beautiful. And I learned something that most of them that I lost, by the time it tip over, you know, you look at the root and it completely hollow out in the middle. And even though the tree is still very green. And when I saw the 2 trees that you're removing on the side, they are definitely asymmetrical. They're not kind of balanced trees. And I realized that, you know, trees like that, you lose the limbs, one or two easily during construction, just because unless you really, even if you stay away from it completely. And you could even lose the whole tree, and which you never know the shape of it. So the only way you really can try to save those, at least one of the trees on the south side, is move the house completely away from the tree. And then I was thinking, you know, if you do that, completely move away, and then you go to construction, and will the tree survive or not? Just because of the extreme rain we have lately. So it's really an issue for me lately when I, you know, see trees like that. And so because of that, you know, personally, I support the removal of the trees just because I realize that to make it work, because, and you know, you have so many limitations. You have a 50-foot setback on Glen Oaks, which personally I will not support a variance to get closer than that because that creates different issues. And then you have a floodplain on the west, which is pretty much half the site. So you're limited to pretty much the front of the site. And so you have 3 oak trees, and the one in the front is a beautiful one, which I'm glad that you be able to move the house away. The middle one is between, you know, the deck, that one too. You just can't tell if it lasts 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, or you never know. But my biggest concern is the one on the south. Just the shape of it, you see strings everywhere and the branches, and I'm so anyway. So I, you know, I definitely support of this specific site to remove those 2 trees and with the design. So now about the design for the house, you know, I look at the next door neighbor, you know, and when you look at, they are pretty close. We're also like 10 feet away, based on what I've seen here. And your proposed project is, the garage is probably 10 feet away. And it's a single story. And so you know, I mean, I think that's a logical place for the garage because that's where the garage is right now. So I think the grading works. I don't think, so I'm not too concerned with the location between your garage and the next door. And I see that you do step the house away from the property line, which give, you know, more than enough privacy between the two neighbors. So I'm fine with that. I think the design is nice. It's be definitely an addition to the community, and then you take advantage of the slope. You put the second floor down below, not on top, which I think is a great solution. And I personally, I don't think you need to redo the story poles. I don't have problem the way it is now. So you're lowering it, it's even better, and it go different direction anyway. It's go from west to east. That's the one that's lowering it. So based on what I've seen, and I think that I definitely can support the project, and I would not, it's just the size is so difficult that I think you create different issue when you move the house around, and to save something that's not really, I'm not sure it's worth saving. So I think this can move forward. Thank you.
Rob, please.
I mean, it seems like there's still a lot of issues. I agree with Tip. But I do, I'm going to make an effort to get out there because it looks like there's still a lot of issues, a lot of things in flux at this point. And I do, what would help me is, I guess would be to see a much more loose schematic. It seems like you could kind of squeeze some things together. So let me ask you this on the house. I mean, how far does that have the ability to go further to the west and further off the street? I mean, what you're starting to lose, like, it seems like you could skinny up the pool, or you could skinny up some of that stuff in the back and kind of pull some of those things in. And the only thing that really, I guess, bothers me from the street is how close the garage is to that street. And it seems kind of, there it seems kind of really tight. But if there's the ability to kind of squeeze some things in from left, right, maybe just by, having a simple schematic, that would help me. But I understand it's a tough site. And so generally, I mean, I think there's a lot, you guys are all talented. And so I know that you'll be able to resolve all these issues, not to everybody's liking, but I do think there's a few things you still can do to kind of improve and try to work with the neighbors and satisfy some of these things. So
I find site visits to be one of the most interesting parts of this job. Maybe the only interesting part of the job. I am sure that the neighbor to the south wants your project to be invisible. There's nothing that says in the guidelines to be invisible. I think that his primary view, we were invited over there. There's a deck, I think it's by his master bedroom, and a dining area is actually over the proposed ADU. It's not really over the primary house as it's located right now. And yeah, you're going to see a little piece of a roof, but it's not as if this is towering over there. And there seems to me that there's significant amount of hedging, mature hedging right now between your proposal and what is actually their driveway. It's not even, and I'm not sure what that room is. It's got comparatively small windows in it. It's certainly not large expanses of glass like a glass wall that you see in some of these modern houses that come through. So I'm not as concerned about, I think the neighbor to the south, from my point of view, his issues have been raised and I think they've been addressed. But I disagree with my colleague about that oak tree on the south side. I don't know if it can be trimmed back. And I know that you can come in with some kind of a footing so that you miss the roots that are already there. And to me, then it's really about the area underneath with the fire access and things like that. But that tree has got to be 100 years old, and it could easily be 200 to 300 years. And I mean, it's big. And I can't, in good conscience, allow that to just be ignored. I understand what you're proposing on with the replacement oak trees. I think that's great. I have learned over the years that what's really of concern here is the oak forest, which we live in. Claire Gustanker, who used to be a member of the board, said that at the end of the day, oak trees in Montecito are like weeds. So, we're not going to lose that forest if we take out some trees, but I just don't think I have the heart to vote for that. Now, having said that, I'm one member. You need a quorum. Today, if the other three are okay, you'd have it. So I just want to tell you where I am at with that. And I don't know what you want to do with collectively our comments, but we need to come back. Is it ready for preliminary, do you think, or we need one more shot at it, please? You guys want to go out? We can.
I think it's,
Speak up, you're not on, your mic's not on.
Let me ask you this, John, does preliminary lock everything in terms of the footprint, or is there room to still make some adjustments and finesse?
Well, they don't use this language, but in the county of Santa Barbara, prelim is the big one. And so if you're going to appeal it, you appeal the prelim. You're not permitted to appeal the final except under extremely rare circumstances. But putting it on for prelim doesn't mean that they're going to get prelim. Okay, it just means they have the opportunity. It has to do with the Brown Act. So we could put them on for prelim, and if we don't like it, we'll just continue it and ask them to make further revisions. But without being agendized, they can't get it.
I'm okay with having it on for prelim for sure.
Okay, Tim?
Yes, and it's as I mentioned it, I would do anything to save all the oak trees. They are so beautiful in Montecito, and I just realized that, it's whatever happened the last 10 years, 5 years of the weather, it changed a lot on all the oak trees in the Montecito. And then it just, as I mentioned, I want to fell right in the power line that looked beautifully, perfectly fine. And one morning, and it was gone. And I never expected to happen, and the root is all gone. So it's unfortunate, but anyway, so that's my position on this. And yeah, and I think it's, I think there are things you can do, try to landscaping, maybe even massage the height a little bit more. It's just a garage. It doesn't look into anyone's. Because as I said, if you really want to save that tree, the house had to be 40 feet away to make it work, to really save it. So that's, okay, anyway, so to answer your question, yes.
And one other thing to add to that, Bill, you being an arborist, perhaps you could look at that tree with a closer eye and see if there's any disease issues. So, I mean, if we're going to try to do all this jump and try to save this tree, and then we find out that it's ready to fail really quickly, it's something that at least everybody should know.
Large copper nail, is that what you're suggesting?
No, actually, I mean, like Tip says, it has cryptocline or some of those oak root fungus you can.
Made a note to myself to look at that tree closer, because we haven't done a tree protection plan or anything yet, because we weren't sure of the exact location of the house, so I haven't done that report, but I definitely will.
Are we done, guys?
It's much closer.
We done?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. And we will see you when you come back. Okay, the agenda got turned around a little bit. Item number 2 has asked for continuance, which we granted because of quorum issues. Robert's going to now be leaving. He needs to leave. So we are back to item number 1. Bill and Dave should be back with us so that we have a quorum for that. Daryl, are you here, please?
Yeah, Daryl Becker with Becker Studios here together with Derek Eichelberger from Arcadia Studios regarding representing Montecito LLC. It's a property at 1410 North Jameson Lane. The application is for a wall, replacing a wood fence. There was an existing 6 to 7 foot high wood fence along the Jamison corridor along the freeway. That wall was replaced with a masonry wall. That wall currently is 6'7" to about 7'10" high, in the same location as the prior fence. During the course of the last few years, this wall has become exposed, or the fence in this whole alley has been exposed in part by the debris flow, and then secondarily by the bucket brigade who went through and trimmed out a lot of the vegetation there, and put in a sidewalk, which is of course nice for the community. And our client constructed this sound wall that was as a result of Caltrans deciding not to install a sound wall. The client entered into an agreement with Caltrans and the county, where Caltrans and the county conveyed funds to do noise abatement activities, including building a sound wall. So client thought they had a green light to be able to do that. They didn't realize that there was a permit involved. We got involved to help them through this process because there was a violation. And the goal here is to permit this wall, it's a masonry wall plastered in lieu of the previous wood fence. The choices really were constrained because one of our offers to the county was to go in and reduce the height of the wall to 6 foot, which would have made it seemingly permittable, but because of its proximity to the creek and the floodplain, the county requires the same process of permitting the wall, whether it's at the 8 foot high or whether it's 6 foot high. So herein we are submitting this project, and we're adding no structures. There was previously approved in the application, the gate. So the gate was previously approved. And what we're doing is talking specifically about the wall itself and the landscaping to the wall to soften it to the North Jameson exposure. If you go to the third page of this plan, this is the location. There's view 1, which this shows the pre-existing condition prior to the sidewalk installation. So you get kind of an idea. If you blow up either view 1 or 2, you get an idea of the prior wood fence. It was a brown wood fence, and it was hidden a lot in landscape. As I indicated, that all changed with the creation of the sidewalk. There was a trimming that was done by the bucket brigade, which exposed this elevation. And then below this, you'll see the wall, view 3, which is the plastered CMU wall, and view 4. If you go back one sheet, you'll see the neighborhood walls along this alley. Apparently, Caltrans and the county has gone through to a bunch of neighbors down this alley there and conveyed funding for sound walls and other installations. It's our general belief most of these were built without permits. I don't know that factually, but a lot of them have just popped up. So our wall is not necessarily inconsistent with others that have gone up. So anyway, this is a presentation of the neighborhood walls and the compatibility of what's going on along there. Obviously, many of these walls are not landscaped. That's not our intention. Our intention is to properly landscape. If we go back to the third page, I'll take you through the wall itself. The wall is a masonry block wall over concrete footing. The color of it's proposed to be cloud white. It's an LRV of 8505. The gate was previously painted the charcoal color, and then it's got the gate columns also have a night sky compliant light fixture that graces both sides of the gate on the columns. Further in our plan, if you'll go, I think, to sheet 5, Yeah, go to 6 if you wouldn't mind. I'm sorry, it's more telling. So this is the site plan, and it shows that the wall is just outside of the right of way. So one of the beliefs was that the wall encroached on the right of way. It does not. It was surveyed, and anyway, its location is exactly as the previous wood fence and exactly the same configuration, just a little bit taller. And the wall parallels the Jamison corridor, then makes a 90-degree turn to the driveway. And as I indicated previously, there was a driveway or gate permit with columns that are also submitted here, but that was previously approved under a different permit. And we're working right now with flood control to review this. We're just outside the floodway, but we're in the flood hazard zone. So it's conceivable that flood control requires us to install some floodgates in this wall. We're also just outside of the environmentally sensitive habitat in the creek setback with this wall, and we have had a biological report, and those have all been submitted to the county. So this submittal together with Arcadia Studios landscape plan need conceptual approval by this board, and then we are going to be heard by MPC, and then we'll come back to this board for further review after that occurs. So with that, I'll kick it over to Arcadia to discuss the landscape plan that's being proposed.
Hello. Can we find the landscape sheet?
I didn't see one.
When did you submit it with the original BAR packet? I didn't see one in there.
These, the landscape plans were submitted to our planner, in June, I believe.
Apparently they didn't get uploaded for some reason. I don't know if you have.
I could be wrong on that date, but,
I didn't see them when I downloaded stuff on Monday.
Okay.
Okay, so they didn't make it. So that's not a critical issue right here, I don't think. Derek, can you just describe to us
Yes.
what it is you want to do, please?
Right. So as Daryl said, there's a small walking strip similar to the ones that you're seeing in Montecito along the edge of the road. It's about 3 to 4 feet wide. Then between the wall and the back of that pathway is about 8 feet of landscaping. We're proposing a variety of native plants, the largest being the heteromeles, well, you know what it is. Then we've also got some Ceanothus Julia Phelps. Everything else is kind of low. And we're also proposing Ficus repens on the wall at about 10 feet on center.
What's the variety there, Derek?
That's it.
Derek, what's the variety of height at the wall itself, please?
The tallest would be about 15 feet, and then the ground cover would be ranging from about 2 feet to 4 feet.
Okay, very good. So are you guys done, please?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so let's have questions. Dave, please.
Was the wall specifically designed at this height to mitigate for the noise? Or if you lowered it, would that impact the owner?
Okay, we have the landscape plan now.
Oh, there you go.
Awesome.
So Dave, did you want to?
Yeah, we can.
You want to present the landscape plan before I ask questions, or
Yeah.
Derek,
Well,
we
you
have
can-
that plan now.
I mean, you can see the photos. That's demonstrative of what we're proposing. Some grasses. There's the Toyon, the Ceanothus Julia Phelps, and California poppies. And, it's just on the this Yankee Point, it's just a nice, varying height composition of native planting. The exceptions being the creeping fig on the wall in the bottom slide and a few agaves mixed in there. I will note that there are several existing rocks in this planting area, which we're proposing to keep where they are.
Yeah,
Okay, and
those are expressed on the L1. If you want to go back 2 more sheets, and all the rocks are shown. They seem to be appropriately dispersed.
questions, Dave, please.
Yeah, was the height of the wall specifically designed to mitigate for noise? And if it was lowered, would it impact the owner?
Well, I think we would prefer that it not be lowered. I think also that this wall in comparison to other walls is de minimis in terms of height. The wall to its west is much higher. So the scale of this wall, I would say, is completely, totally appropriate to the function that it's doing. And given the fact that we had offered to the county to reduce the height to avoid this process, and the fact that the county indicated that we need to go through the process anyways, I certainly wouldn't advocate to reduce the functionality of the wall as previously designed.
Okay. And Derek, is the wall going to be completely screened by landscaping, or is some of it going to show through?
Eventually, the ficus will cover it completely, and the planting itself will probably cover, at least half the wall in and of itself.
And did you consider using a more muted color on this public side of the wall? Would that be an option?
Well, I think that's something we would consider if that was suggested by the board. All these walls along here are pretty stark. The goal always was to landscape it. So if that was a requirement of the board, I think we'd be open to it.
Those are my questions. Thanks.
Bill, questions, please.
Yeah, so on the site plan that you showed, it looked like the block wall, does it hit the property and cover over the property line? Could you go back to that site plan real quick, David?
It's on page 6 of the.
There you go.
Yeah, no, it's
the green is the wall, I assume, right? And the property line there, kind of coming down. Is it actually encroaching over that? Is that a issue with?
Well, it is not. If you the dark hash line is the property line, and the green line is the wall.
Okay. So you're on your property, and you're able to plant in that area there between the Bucket Brigade DG and the wall. They're allowing you to do that without any issue.
Correct. We verified that we're outside the right of way, and we would likely still be required to get a road encroachment permit for the landscape installations.
Yeah, and you'll have irrigation out there, I assume, as well.
Correct. There's an irrigation plan as proposed by Arcadia.
And we're really just looking at this section of wall along Jameson, not as it returns back in, and not the gate, and not as it goes up that private drive there. Is that correct?
Well, what happens up the private drive is a chain link fence that is existing and has been there. All of this is one of the requirements was to show and denote all of the improvements. And so that is we're showing all of that. The gate and gate columns were permitted under a prior permit number. So we're showing all of the improvements all the way through. But yes, you're approving the wall along Jameson back to the gate columns.
And not the west side property line. Is that chain link over there? And that's already existing?
Correct. That's all existing chain link fence.
Okay. All right. That was it. Thank you.
Questions, Tip, please.
Do you have to receive the MPC approval because you are exceeding 6 foot high?
Correct.
And that's why, okay. And I guess that's the only question I have.
Rob, questions, please.
The stonework at the base of the wall is that all new construction?
There is no stonework at the base of the wall. There's sandstone boulders on the site between the let's call it the sidewalk area and the wall. The wall itself is 100% a plastered block wall.
That was the neighbor's stonework at the base of the wall? Okay, I'm just looking at one of the pictures
Oh,
that was
correct.
on your plan that I was mistaking, I guess, picture 4, I think that's your neighbor's.
Yes, that's correct. All those images are other walls along that alley. The picture 4 and 5, or sorry, yeah, 4 and 5, those are at the entrance to Santa Elena, further to the west. And, you know, I mean, so if you're looking at on that page, I think it's the second page, those are neighborhoods images. These are other walls along the alley. Our property and wall line sits back from the road a little further. So that as evidenced here in these two images. So could you blow this up a little bit, the top view 1 and 2, so I can explain this a little better. As you can see here, the two images above are the alignment of the prior wood fence. And again, that wood fence was over height. It says on the application it was 6 foot, but it was 6 to 8 feet. And this wall was built in exactly the same location as this fence. The unfortunate part is when the sidewalk was put in, one of the first things they did is they went down the street and they cut back a lot of the hedging and the landscape that was along there to put the sidewalk in, and that further exposed it. That together with the construction or the substitution of the wood fence and the block wall, and probably the starkness of the painted block wall exposed this wall. But as I was indicating, this wall, when you drive down Jameson, is de minimis in terms of comparison to other walls along the way. All the other walls were shown on this other sheet. Again, the intention is to landscape out the wall. The wall was built by the property owner, and the intention was to get there and landscape it, but we just didn't get there before they had a notice of violation. And we started the process about a year ago with mitigating this. And we've gone through all of the information gathering and verification process. And so here we are now.
So what I'm reacting to, and so do you have pictures of, you mentioned that you have some existing boulders and rock work, because what I reacted to was that one picture I referenced for it, the rock work there looks more like a debris field. It doesn't look like a well-crafted wall, and then none of the boulders don't look like they're meaningful additions to it. So are there any pictures of the boulders or rock that you were mentioning? Because I'm not seeing that in any of these pictures. Maybe if you could help me with that.
Well, so two things. One is the boulders you're referring to are somebody else's property and not the property in question. These are.
I understand. I just want, you had mentioned boulders on your property, and rock on your property, so I just was where that was.
Correct. Derek had brought it up, and those boulders are represented on the landscape plan. I think
Yeah.
I think view 4 shows one too.
No, that's the one. That's actually the one I didn't. So mostly I guess if you have boulders, that 4 is not a great example. So I'm sure you'll do that well. So that's really what I was driving at.
Absolutely.
And I have no questions. Public comment, I know we have one supportive letter. We are in support of this project, just cutting to the last sentence. So is there anybody else? Steve, I see you there. Anybody else online? Anybody?
No hands up online.
Okay, so we're on for concept today. That's as far as we can go. And they want to head off to the Montecito Planning Commission as soon as possible, of course. So comments, number one, do we need to see this again? And number two, us, if you believe we're ready to go, but with comments, what would those be, Dave?
Yeah, I think the wall and the height is justified by the circumstance of the freeway being adjacent. Seems to be consistent with other walls in the neighborhood. Got a very detailed landscape plan to help screen it again. I think the one difficulty is just how visible it is right now. So if you are willing to use a more muted color on that exterior face of the wall to help with the transition until the landscape comes in, then I can support the project.
Bill, comments?
I agree with Dave. I think it's supportable for certainly circumstances of that site. And I would be curious to see how the flood vents will be integrated in and still aesthetically pleasing. Not that you really have a whole lot of choice there. And I too would like the color to be something a little more muted, and maybe if you could get the vines to really cover the wall like your image showed there, Derek, that would be great. So yeah, I can support it.
Yep, comments?
Yeah, I think with the proper landscaping, I think that'd be fine. We have so many walls being built in Montecito now, and all the Caltrans walls that's like 20 feet tall. So compared to this one, I definitely don't think it's an issue at all. Thank you.
Rob, comments?
So I agree with the comments. I mean, the two main comments are, I think it's too white and it should be muted down. And then actually, but I don't want to see you muting it down with creeping fig. That's the one kind of odd man out for me. I think something like that, just trying to cover the wall. I mean, you have this composition of some nice native plants, and so something, I don't know, like Hall's honeysuckle or something that some of the wall reads through would be better. And so the landscape composition is more meaningful. I think if you just do creeping fig, the texture and the color of that is not kind of, doesn't work with the other plantings you propose. So for me, that's the one plant I'd like to see another option on, please.
And I have no further comments. I'm thinking that one of the comments that Caltrans made when they came through was not altering the center median, as it turns out, having one pattern in carpentry and another pattern in, so I think for better or maybe for worse, we have a color already established for these sound walls by Caltrans. And I think if you get, like a muted brown, it's a tan color, something like that, I think it's just going to fade away, and then whatever plants work will just be background. But I don't think this needs to come back to us, right? Positive comments to the Planning Commission. We're supportive of the project with the applicant to consider a slightly muted color, more muted color.
Excellent. Thank you.
Well, we'll and possibly an alternate vine color, vine material.
What level review would you like to get to come back after all MPC?
Prelim final, yeah, on
final
consent. I don't think we need to see this here. Okay. We all done?
Thank you. Just to
Thank
clarify,
you.
you're recommending
Okay.
after MPC final on consent?
The preliminary final on consent.
Appreciated. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so we had a little turnaround just as a review because of this and that. So we've just finished item number 1. Number 2 is continued at the applicant's request. We took item number 3 first. So we're now back in order on item number 4, 559 San Ysidro Road. Yep.
Hi there, Jose Gonzalez here
Oh,
representing.
there
the
you are.
project.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And he's on, just before you get started, we're on for preliminary and final. Okay, sir.
Perfect. Okay, so we went ahead and took the points, the recommendations, and developed this revised package. So I just want to go over the points that I have. If we can go to the next page to see the existing condition, please. So this is the project where we have, I'm sorry, the following one. We do have, the existing plaster stucco railing that we're replacing. So we're actually going to go with glass railing, but we are bringing back some of the stucco. So it's not 100% railing. That's the existing condition. So if we go to the next slide, please, we'll see the proposed. We essentially, we brought back the stucco wall by the stair going all the way up to the landing, extend a little more. Then we connected on the other end. If you go to the next slide, there's a bigger version. So at the very back in the corner, we actually left all the stucco area there, the railing in the corner, and then we restart the glass to the left of that. The following point was about the landscape, to bring back the finger planters. If we can go to the second slide, please. That's our proposed landscape plan. Towards the beginning. There you go. So here we actually created a series of finger planters in all the dead areas for the parking layout. We introduced some vegetation. The landscape architect did one pass on the vegetation based on the comments provided, which that will be comment number 3, which is using more commercial ornamental landscaping and more drought tolerant. So this is here proposal. He removed the more delicate species, and we tried to create a little more shade by creating one tree in that finger planter on the bottom center, etc. And then the one last comment, so we talk about the railing. That's point number 1.4, and point number 5 was about the overall windows on the building. And we actually did review all our imagery and the existing condition of the windows. And the windows are definitely not the originals from the 70s. We actually look into the hardware, and it is our understanding that this building we got some windows in the early 2000s. So they are in pretty okay shape. So in this case, we would like to propose to keep the existing windows as they are and only replace the entryways and storefronts as proposed. And that's that. So those are the revisions to this set. We included some glass railing details on the last page in case there's any interest in seeing the type of hardware that we are utilizing. You can see the last page shows the C.R. Lawrence bracket that we're planning to use and how the fascia would interact with the glazing. Can you switch to the last slide, please? Yeah. There you go. So that's the hardware that we'll be using, and that's how we're integrating it to the fascia. And that was the signage that we discussed last time, non-illuminated, that it didn't get any comments from last review. That's it.
Thank you very much. Questions, Tip? Oh, just before we do this, there's a memo. No comments. Tip?
No questions.
No comment, no questions. Rob?
I have no questions at this point.
Bill?
Are we to look at the light or the signage as well too? So it's part of this, or
I
does that
think-
go to somebody else?
I think it's staff review actually, but if you've got comments, please don't be shy.
I'm not familiar with the ordinance in Montecito about signage, so I have to defer that to others.
What do you like the way it looks?
I like the way it looks.
Okay, excellent. Well, I don't know. I'm surprised you didn't ask about the hand cap, the cap at the top of the glass. Is
I
it
saw that,
legal?
but I don't know. I mean, I've had mixed answers on that, so I believe it is required to have something as a cover there.
Okay,
Continues, but I'm not certain. So that'll be a code enforcement or a building department issue.
and so we may want to specify material in case it is
We could,
white or black or chrome.
yeah, or to match the window trim color or something.
So we're in questions. Any other questions, please?
No.
Dave, questions, please.
No questions.
I was confused. Can we go back to the elevations or the renderings, maybe? Renderings, I think. Okay, so my reading of this is that there is a wing on the right-hand side projecting towards San Ysidro. And on the right-hand side of that, there's some cement plaster. It comes up to a railing, which turns the corner and goes back and hits a plaster wall. But this is my question. It looks to me like that plaster wall goes back, stops, and there's a glass railing running parallel with San Ysidro Road. Is that question, am I reading that correctly or not, please?
Yes, so you refer to the small glass railing in the very back, right above the.
On top of the roof, yeah.
Correct, yeah. Currently, there is an existing.
Cement plaster. You're muted. Did we mute him? Hang on, Jose. You're muted.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah,
Okay,
that was
that's
my.
okay. So go ahead. Currently there is, and that's where we lost you.
Yeah, so currently there is like a 20-inch solid plaster wall that makes that corridor like kind of really uninteresting. There's no light, there's shadow, and so that particular portion we reviewed several times, and we decided to keep the glass, even though it's only a 20-inch piece of glass, and then below that there's going to be another like 22 inches of plaster facing the interior of the corridor. But try to bring as much natural light to that corridor was.
And are the windows and doors along that wall that's parallel with San Ysidro, are they brand new or are you retaining the existing doors and windows along that wall, please?
Those we are replacing the doors, the access, what we call, which are the ones on the left, and the one on the right, that one is remaining. That's an existing window. I don't think it's older than 20 years.
Thank you. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 4, 559 San Ysidro Road, please?
No requests.
Okay, so we are on for preliminary final. Tip, please.
Well, I think that this building, when you look as good as it can be, I think with the proper landscaping, new doors, windows, new paint, it will clean up the complex. So I support. The only thing that I'm not sure, is with all the drawings, like I still seeing the scientific conceptual landscape plan. Is it the final landscape plan?
So the comment is that you're trying to get at, I think I can vote for preliminary, but I don't think there's sufficient information to vote for final. Is that what you were trying to get at?
Yeah, just because of the big things, say conceptual landscape plan, and I saw it and I realized that it's.
Yeah, and we don't have the colors and all kind, okay, so are you done with your comments? Rob, please.
Could I see the site plan, the landscape plan, please?
It's the second page from the beginning.
Okay. So I mean, where you started and where you're at is great. You know, I mean, we so really appreciate kind of everything you've done to kind of move it in this direction. There's 2 finger planters. One you're showing a tree in, kind of one's in the middle. It's got a gray plant in it. It's got a gray tree in it. It's kind of right in the middle of the page at the bottom. And then there's the other finger planter kind of up to the right that needs a tree. But those 2 finger planters are I don't believe they're wide enough to have a tree in there. It seems to me that if you could steal like either the end finger planter, steal from that, or steal a few inches along the length of each parking space, that you could kind of get those planters to about 4 feet in width or 3.5 feet and get a tree in both those. So that's kind of what's missing. So, but other than that, I appreciate everything you've kind of moved this project towards.
Bill, Bill,
Yeah, I like what I see. I do appreciate you upgrading the landscaping. I think that's going to add a lot to it. I'm fine with the glass railing in the configuration you show. And I would say you don't have enough for final for landscape for sure. And you might just need to research the glass railing cap detail. And if that's the case, match that with maybe the color of your windows and doors. And one of the frames, that is, one of the questions I had is the new windows going to match the existing windows? I forgot to ask that. Are they going to look compatible with each other?
Yes, we're gonna match the outside frame of every opening to make sure it's the same. The only difference is that right now the downstairs storefronts and the upstairs storefronts are different. Like downstairs are frameless, upstairs have the white dividers. So we're pretty much gonna match the downstairs, which is just continuous glass with a white frame all around. And that's gonna be the look for every access to every unit as we can proceed to make.
So there'll be a unifying element then in that.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I could see giving it preliminary and having you come back for final on consent, I think.
I have
okay,
something to add at one point when you have.
hang on, Dave.
Yeah, I think it's a very nice upgrade, both for the building and the landscape, and I can support it. We're preliminary today and final on consent.
And Rob, please.
So what is missing in terms of the landscape plan is that I think you need understory, but the trees that you're showing, I think you need kind of a complete theme for the trees where, all the finger planters have trees in them, and then there's just, that the trees kind of organize the site and then has the corresponding understory, and then you need sizes, call outs, wheelo, understory, irrigation, and then you can get final. Thank you.
Okay, so maybe the most important thing that I got out of architecture school was God is in the details, okay? And Jose, I don't see a full set of details about the doors and the windows. Upstairs is different than downstairs. We have some existing that we're retaining. And Rob and I are the two that have done the consent calendar for a couple of years now anyway. We're going to probably be the ones reviewing this. I would want photographs of anything you're keeping and then maybe something from a brochure about what it is you're putting in so that we can see really, is this going to be a unified building or is this going to be patchy? That's what I'm concerned about. You took on something to take it from, what did you say, 70s or 60s? 60s. I said 70s, yeah, and bring it up to yeah, something, whatever. So can you, and that's that, then also plaster texture, you said you were going to replaster the building. Is it going to be a sand finish? Is it going to be smooth? What is that? Please call that out. And what color is this building? That's never been called out either. We have something that's not official, but this board has not approved a color with an LRV of greater than 84 in probably close to 5 years now. And I don't see any reason to start here. So that it's white if you want to, which looks like where you want to go, but it's not brilliantly white, it's.
Mhm.
So if I would want to see all of that on the final drawings. And I think that you can do some of it with photographs. And I think you need to do some of it with photographs, but door and window details, how's the contractor going to put that thing in? And are you getting in trouble at the corners and things like that? That's your job as the designer to get that done. So, and then on consent.
Yeah, and especially, how the glass rail sitting on top of the slope roof in the back.
Yeah, and the waterproofing that's coming up and how you deal with that, because you're gonna have some kind of a flashing detail there. So all of that,
And hardscape, if there's any hardscape paving changes or.
Paving
improvement,
changes, yeah, irrigation, full planning, yeah, full planning plan, Wheelo. So you have got, how many drawings has he got? How many drawings he got now? You're gonna, potentially, you may double the size of the set. It's not, I'm not asking for one sheet. This is gonna take more than one sheet to get this done. Okay, thank you, and, oh, yes, thank you. So who wants to make a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to grant preliminary approval for 559 San Ysidro Road to the applicant to return for final on consent with the details.
Colors, Wheelo,
colors,
yeah.
Wheelo, landscape, railing details, paving materials. Anything
Second.
else? What?
Okay, all those in favor, please?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You want a break? Okay, so we're gonna take, sorry, guys, we're gonna take 5 minutes just to. Oh, go. You want- Okay, we're back. 62 Humphrey Road, we are on for prelim final. We have 7 comment letters and concerns regarding roof pitch of the 2 accessory buildings. 2 members felt that they couldn't support the project without additional information on the potential impacts to adjacent neighbors, add architectural element above garage doors, restudy scale of cupola at garage, provide additional landscaping on the south side of property. Dan, please.
Right, thank you. I'm gonna let Leela and Kaylee do most of the talking. I'll just say we are currently, status update, we're currently in our second plan check for this project in the building department. So we're moving right along. We're here for prelim and final.
Right.
Our detail package hasn't changed and material selections haven't changed since the last time we got final approval. But I think Leela's gonna just touch on that just to make sure you're comfortable with it. And Leela's done a good job, Leela and Kaylee have done a good job of hitting all 5 of your comments from the last round, last time we visited you. So go for it, Leela.
So number 1 was concern regarding roof pitch and impacts on adjacent neighbors. We studied these roof pitches further, and we feel that we thoughtfully addressed our neighbors' concerns by screening, which Kaylee can speak in greater terms with. So the roof pitches remain unchanged. Number 2, members requested more information on the potential impacts to neighbors, site inspection, notification, letter of support, story polls. As you mentioned, we have 7 letters of support. 3 of the 7 are from our neighbors that share property lines with us. So we have one from the north, east, and south, as well as across the street. All have seen the story polls and give full support of our project. We also, I can leave it at that, and then Kaylee can talk about the screening that we've implemented and have agreements with our neighbors to the east to be planting on their side to ensure that even the structures that are right up against that property will be screened. Add architectural element above garage doors. This was a suggestion by Bill. Thank you. If we go to sheet A303, I believe it is. Yes, and then if we zoom in on that front elevation with the garage doors, we added a wooden trellis. This is the same style as the trellis in front of the the workshop. So it will have some commonality around the property, and we think this really enhanced the elevation. So thank you. The other request was restudy the scale of the cupola on the workshop. So one sheet over, we can see a reduction in a cupola. This was another suggestion by Bill. And so we have resized it.
It's the chimney.
There you go. Yeah. Provide additional landscaping on the south side of the property. So this is where I'll hand it over to Kaylee.
So if we can go to LC1, we can look at the rendered plan first, then go to the planting plan. That comment I actually think might have been, so there was a comment about the screening along the east side, and then the way that that one is written, I think it's about adding a little bit more detail in the existing condition on the south side, so we can look at both.
Yeah, I think it might have just been a misinterpretation of the cardinal directions. I think by south, the intention was to say east.
Yeah, it may have also been in reference to, I think it was Rob's request to put some pots or additional elements into where the gravel and patio is on the south, so I can address both of those.
Oh, yeah.
There's a neighbor agreement to plant the ficus nitida columns, and those were chosen because we do need the height of the ficus to provide screening over there. We're going to put a redwood fence on the inside of that along the property line, and then the ficus hedge on the outside. With that agreement, and only for the stretch that it's needed there, and everything else will be inside the property line. And then I appreciated the comment to add a little bit more detail to the existing condition that's on the south side of the house. So we've added some additional pots there, and we all are planting anything that's been impacted by construction as well in there, and we can go to the planting plan. There was also a comment that didn't make it into these comments, but I remember about the lighting, and we did look at doing some down lighting, but because the trees are going to be pretty young and there's not any existing trees in kind of the living spaces, where we are going to stick with a path light for this one. But we appreciated that comment. This would just be a pretty path light that just kind of disappears into the foliage and weathers out in the coastal area that it's in. And then this is our more detailed planting plan. It shows the screening. I think we reviewed the plant palette last time, and we still have our WELO calcs on the irrigation sheet and the vehicular gate. So I think you've seen everything else.
And I did glaze over, we did install story poles. I don't know if I mentioned that. So following our meeting with you all on Thursday, on Monday, Allen Construction, they installed story poles on both the workshop and pool cabana. So we have photos if you guys like to see those, but that is what all the letters of support are referencing.
Are you done? Please. Questions, Bill?
Can we see those photos? Do you have them on there or are they?
Three minutes ago, Dave.
In
David.
the meantime, while he's looking for that,
Does that work?
Let's see what we can do, because this is being broadcast. We want to get it in the record so that everybody can see it.
were you proposing building lighting too, or is that from long ago? It's the same building lighting you've used on the house? Or is that shown somewhere or?
Leila, do you want to answer that one? Just go over the exterior any exterior lighting.
It's just mostly the fixture. I don't care about the light.
Exterior elevations. They are placed on each elevation. They're by pretty much any exit point of a house.
Do you know what page those are on?
It would be in the 300, so starting with 301.
You have a fixture shown? That's mostly what I'm asking.
Oh, yeah, if you go to the schedule, so that is in, bear with me.
How many sheets?
Okay, so we have the sheet A904. If you go to that sheet, you'll see a lighting schedule and all the fixtures are placed in there.
Oh. Oh, there.
Yeah. One row down, the exterior lighting. They're all there. So some of them, the top two, are actually gas lanterns. And those we've taken those to Montecito Fire, and they have agreed to allow us to install those. And then the rest are LEDs.
So the bottom two wouldn't be approvable, and the third one or the fourth one up and the fifth one up wouldn't be approvable because they're all not night sky compliant.
Yeah, but are they?
Yes.
You guys know what the term glare means from a lighting? A pin. That's glare, okay? Point light that you can see that disturbs you, right? So that's what those lights don't do. And they talk about a milk color, or the hit or the.
Yeah, like a seated or a milky glass that.
Well, it's not even seated. If you go and look at the ordinance, it talks about milk colored glass.
Mhm.
Now, they had a meeting at the Montecito Planning Commission yesterday. I don't know if they finished it. I don't know what they did, but they're really looking at all this. But where are those, and are they visible to the neighbors in any way, please?
So the top ones, those are more on a pedestal, right at a front.
The top two are basically exempt.
Yeah.
Because they're gas.
Those are the ones that face the street. So
Yeah, those
the
are
ones that are visible. And we're just so enclosed with landscaping. I don't think we're gonna have other visible lights from any of the adjacent neighbors.
I'll leave that
Um,
planner to decide.
The third one is underneath, there's a front entry, a porch. So that one's a flush mount on the ceiling of the front entry, so you won't see it. Mm-hmm.
Well,
And
yeah, all I can say is I know that the ones we've approved in the past are all shielded. They're night sky compliant. They have the source up inside the hood, so.
The last time we went over this with planning, that was
Yeah,
these fixtures where you can see the light source
aren't allowed, yeah.
used to make discretionary approvals, but that was my understanding.
Well, yeah, they look great.
I think we hear your concern there. We'll
It would
maybe
just
there's a
be
way
fine.
that we can
switch them out.
yeah switch them out and
Like the last, like 26.
so that we can move forward expeditiously, but not.
Yeah. The last two, you can probably find fixtures that are like that have the LED up inside the shroud. They'd be very similar to that, and you could probably find some that would.
Yeah, I think to avoid having to come back and present, I would
We'll
suggest
take
or
care of that. Don't you worry about
Yeah.
that.
request us submitting a substitution to our planner.
That'd be fine. We can figure out a way to work that out.
Okay.
And then the last thing, were you proposing any kind of chimney cap around the spark arrestor, or just, we can leave the?
We were going to
Spark arrestor?
expose it. So yeah, it was stone up into a certain limit and then purchase a ornamental kind of spark. I don't know what they're called.
Spark arrestor,
Spark, thank you.
not a, not a shroud
That
around.
that was a design decision to just bring back a little more history.
Okay, all right. Those were the only questions. Thank you.
Dave, questions, please.
Questions?
Rob, questions.
I don't have any questions.
Tip, questions. No question. And I have no questions. Oh, I do have a question. What direction does Humphrey Road run?
North.
Is it north,
south.
south, or is east?
Yeah,
west?
yeah, it's north south.
So I think that your site plan is wrong. I think that's why you think it's the east and it's.
No, I think what
Can we go to the site?
I think
plan?
I was wrong. I think when I read your comment, the biggest issue that we had to address was that landscape screening for the setback on the east side with those adjacent neighbors. But when Kaylee mentioned it, I do recall you had a comment about, I can't remember who on the board had a comment about adding some landscape features in the south courtyard. So Kaylee did address that one and added some pots and additional landscaping in that south courtyard.
Let's not hold this up. You can keep looking. Public comment. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board? I know we have 7 things. Anybody else, please?
No speakers online.
Okay, there's Wolf. I think it's Jagger, Abrams, Gearson, Drast, Smith, and Seltzer. All of them are, they identified their location and their support. So I don't think we have to necessarily go farther than that, but they were all supportive and they were not a form letter. Okay, okay, yeah. Here, let me write that for you. Okay, so we are on for prelim, final. It sounds like there may be 1 or 2 little things on light fixture for final. But comments, Bill.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you doing the things we talked about, the cupola and the trellis over the garage. I appreciate that. And the only thing I have a question, which I think we could handle if you wanted to submit to the planner, and then I could review and approve any night sky compliant light fixtures. And other than that, I can give it the green light.
Dave, comments, please.
Yeah, my main concern was any impacts to the neighbors of redoing those structures, and you did a very good job of responding on that.
It
So
is
I can
east.
commend you, and I can support the project.
Rob, comments, please.
Can I see the planting plan, the understory? Just for a second, please. I think you might have just passed it. There you go. Yeah, I think your project is really nice. I mean, just a minor, insignificant comment is graphically, it would be really nice it's really hard to read that plan. So if you dialed back the hardscape and grayed all that out so that the understory and landscape read, it'd be much easier to read that because I'm having a hard time kind of seeing where your landscape is unless I really scroll in, close. But I like your project and appreciate everything you've done. So thank you.
Tip,
No, no other comments. Thank you.
Katie, are you online, please, with us today?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so did you hear the comments about the light fixtures?
Yeah, and in the past, this has come up where applicants have proposed fixtures that don't comply with dark sky regulations, and we've just had them add, like what you were describing, the milky kind of glass to the exterior, and
Right.
that's worked out.
Is that something you can take care of?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And I have no comments. So it sounds like Katie feels very comfortable with requiring the glass. I think it's just swapping out the glass at the bulb. So I would like to move for both preliminary and final with the planner to review the light fixtures. I don't remember which page that's on, but to ensure that they meet the ordinance requirements. Is there a second, please?
Second that.
Any further discussion, please? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, last item, number 6, 1029 Monte Cristo Lane. Is there anybody here? You are here. Okay, excellent. Modest project, MBIR can generally support, restudy site layout, consider alternative solutions to driveway and paving, study ways to reduce hardscape and paving. One member suggests adding a line of trees in the middle of the driveway, consider augmenting landscaping for the entire site, restudy configuration and layout of the pool, consider asymmetrical layout. So we are on for preliminary. Sir.
Hi. Okay. So we're actually seeking prelim and final in my landscape set. I have irrigation, the water calc that looks good, and quantities and things like that. Can we go see those landscape plans?
Can you introduce yourself as well?
Sir, your name, please. Mr. Applicant, your name, please.
Oh, sorry, Robert Adams, landscape architect.
Just so
Sorry, that was
that's
the
okay,
main
just so we
thing.
can address you.
Okay, so here's our latest plan, and thank you so much for the suggestions. We actually, one main thing is there were issues about the driveway. I talked to the client about trees down the middle. She didn't like that. She likes some maneuverability. So what we did create is a tree planting bed on both sides with actually canopy trees, olives coming out. We added planting to the front of the garage. And so we expanded that. We're going to have time joints instead of the ugly astroturf, whatever was there. So anyway, and then as we go to the back, we didn't necessarily make the pool asymmetrical, but we increased the planting bed on the west side. So it's going to have a little bit of asymmetricality to that pool. So we're adding more trees there. And essentially, pretty much it's the same, except I guess on the west and east, we're going to have a nice hedge material, not just the ficus. That's going to be the laurel hedge all the way along with on those sides. So I think that'll be nicely screened. And And so that's how we handled that. And then if we can go through the following plans, I'll just point it out. So here are some of the details we have: planting details, material details, plant pictures. Can we go to the next page? Okay. This is our irrigation plan with our zones, all our equipment. We're really mainly using drip irrigation. And can we go to the last page? Okay, we have our water calc, looks good. We have our irrigation details, our drip emitters, et cetera, that information. So anyway, so that's my presentation.
Questions, Rob?
Could we see the previous plan? Yeah, so, and then this is my one question, Robert, is, what is your feeling on the, time is and the durability in a driveway situation in terms of having cars run on it?
Well, it you know, it might get chewed out a little bit, but I still like it. It's pretty drought tolerant. Obviously, that is a maintenance item that we can emphasize to the client. But I do like the time, how it spreads. The joints aren't too wide, I don't think, which will be good. And I would never use lawn in that situation because I've never seen that work. But I like the time as an approach. But we're open to any suggestion you may have. But that's the it's kind of the time kind of goes with our Mediterranean palette. So that's what I was thinking there.
Yeah, my only concern, I guess, would be that it would not be successful, and then so as a second kind of option, is there another thought? Like, I mean, would you go in with gravel or?
Yeah, I mean, I would go with a really soft, not too dark, gray pea gravel. I would say that, and we would again put maintenance notes in there with the client, but you know, again, tires are running over it. We could also do something where we plant the sides and kind of go to a gravel, but that's a weird mix. But I would really want to be earth toned, a nice 3/8 gravel or something like that.
And the synthetic turf works, but you had kind of like this, it was a horde astroturf. And so there are some synthetic turf products that are worth considering that look much.
Yeah,
realistic and would
I
be-
kind of wanted to go more natural, more earthy with this is the thought.
All right.
Because right now they have astroturf and I don't think looks great. I think it looks like crap, but
Was this the previous version here? And can we just scroll back to the other?
What pages were you wanting to look at?
The same site. So this is the previous.
Current one.
This is the previous one from June.
oh, there we are. So we doubled that bed up behind the pool there, and then we added the bed to the east. And instead of palms, we're going to have olives.
There's no way to put those side by side by any chance. Okay.
That's still June.
Oh, you're amazing.
Yeah. Windows, you can use side by side.
Oh, he just up in his game.
Can't see them, but they're side by side.
Okay. All right. I have no more questions. Thank you.
Does anybody else, this is mostly landscape? No. And I don't either. Okay, so we are on for final. Rob, you are our expert here. Do you have a comment? Are you ready for approval here? You want to make a motion?
Well, the other question I did have was the existing paving you're proposing to leave, the existing driveway paving.
Yeah.
And was that just, do we have a picture of that? That was the one thing I remember was not very
It's
appealing.
like concrete, and that's why I was kind of hoping to
Okay, so-
soften it. Even if it had gravel, it would make it look better. I just don't, it kind of pops out with that AstroTurf now.
So I really believe that you need to color stain that paving, would be more successful in that. And then, it's your project. I think the time is, getting drived on might not be successful very quickly. And so you're going to be facing a second option. But other than that, it looks like, I'm okay with where you're going with everything. So I'd support it.
Are you okay with staining it?
Yeah, I think that should be fine.
Okay with some kind
It's kind of a gray right now, a whitish gray.
Yeah, it's not, it's that and the existing AstroTurf is what the public sees. And I think that was where it was really, not very pleasant from the public view. And
Exactly.
kind of where we have,
Yeah.
I
I have a
guess, the
comment about which stain color you would like.
I just want to go soft and, earth tone along a buff or a tan,
yeah,
frankly.
with that.
Say Yosemite buff or something like that.
Hey, okay, is there anything else?
We just wanted to mention, the architect wanted me to mention, the client doesn't want to do an overhead on that back patio. She just wants to keep it open for the light. And I'm not sure what the architectural drawings say.
Let's go and take a look at that.
Oh, yeah, I don't think I show it on my plans. So anyway, no trellis overhead. That was a message from her.
See it, keep going.
And that was timber, but it's just crowding the light a little bit coming into the back living room. That was on the June plans, I think.
Okay, are we guys good? Is everybody good with this? Yeah. I'd like to move for final approval with the applicant to add Yosemite buff staining to the concrete driveway, and for the planner to review the light fixtures to ensure that it conforms with the night sky compliance and glare requirements.
John?
Yeah.
So I think for the staining, it needs to be like a 2.5 pound medium brown of something like that. I thought Yosemite buff was pretty washed out.
Okay.
And I'd be concerned that it's going to get washed out
Okay.
really quick. So
Do you have a number? Do you have a name?
just say a 2.5 pound medium brown. Let him pick.
No, I get it. Medium brown, darker shade than Yosemite.
Okay. So did you get that, Dave? David? Okay, and the light fixture does not look to me like that's compliant. There are several concerns. One is light going up, but there's also concerns about light going out. You can find it in the ordinance. You may have to change out the glass. Okay?
Okay.
But Veronica should be able to take care of that. Is there a second for my motion, please?
Second.
Any further discussion, please? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, somebody want to move to adjourn?
Thanks, Robert.
Okay, thank you.
To adjourn today's meeting, September 19th, 2024.
For a second, please?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.